some shin splints that are reoccurring. And I want to really address that fact with you guys, because if the shin splint keeps reoccurring, then we know that it actually isn't the shin that is triggering the action. We want to look up further in that kinematic chain. And what do I actually mean by that? Well, we want to start addressing what's happening at the knee, the hip, and even up into the low back. So what I want to talk to you guys about now is why that shin pain might still be reoccurring, and what are some things that you could do to eliminate the shin pain without feeling like you have to take too much time off from running. So the first thing we want to do is we want to really understand better what's going on at the shin. So when we look at the shin, we actually talk about this muscle here, which is our tibialis anterior that comes off the shin bone, which is actually part of the tibia. So if you're having issues where the shin splint is still increasing and creating discomfort for you when you're doing your runs, we want to look at first how the foot is striking the ground in terms of, are you supinating the foot, pronating the foot, heavy heel striker, and what's going on as you push off the foot during your run cycle. The other thing we want to look at and address is actually here at the knee. What's going on at the knee? How that patella is actually moving in a side-to-side position, meaning the tracking. So what are we noticing here at the patella? And then also too looking at what's going on here at the hip in terms of, are our hip flexors too tight? And you've heard me mention this word before, is your QL too tight, which comes off the 12th rib and attaches here at the top part of the pelvis. So if you're having reoccurring shin pain, we want to start looking at really that gait analysis and figuring out what's going on and why it keeps reoccurring, because even if you are doing the proper rest, ice, massage, and even foam rolling, all of those things, and starting to do some stuff to help strengthen the lower leg, you want to start looking further up the chain, as I've mentioned, because again, how our foot hits the ground affects the knee, and then affects the hip, and then affects the low back, and also to the pelvis and the sacrum, because everything is related in one kinematic chain. So based upon that information, we know that there are certain things that we should do. And the first thing we should look at doing is doing some basic simple things to work out the soft tissue. So again, here's my foam roller, and what I want to first do is I want to first massage out my shins. So simply putting pressure onto that tibialis anterior muscle is going to be a huge reliever. So you can come down onto the roller. You may just find that you want to go ahead and just sit like this and put some pressure on the area. The other one is you could kind of come and put a little bit more pressure by putting the hands on the floor or on a table, really allowing your body weight to kind of sit into that muscle a little bit more. Then from there, the other important one you want to start looking at doing is going down and addressing your calves by stacking the feet, lifting the body up, and really rolling around onto that calf, getting the soleus, the gastroc itself, and even into the perineals as well on the outside of the foot. The other one you will want to do is take a lacrosse ball or massage ball and really work out the plantar fascia as well. So from a soft tissue perspective, those would be the areas of focus that you would want to address first. Then the second is to make sure you are stretching out the foot. So that means really going ahead and stretching out the calf and the shin as well. And you can simply do that by standing off the step at home, allowing the heel to drop, and then going ahead and pressing the laces into the step itself, and allowing for the shin with the leg fully extended to really stretch out a little further. The way to strengthen the lower leg is obviously to do some heel walks and toe walks across the room, but the other thing would be is to start really looking at single leg movement patterns. And what do I mean by that? Well, exactly what I said, single leg patterns. Meaning learning how to actually balance on that leg, so this way the whole ankle, shin, calf, everything can start to really fire off properly, but at the same time making sure that you're doing both sides to create an even balance. Because if you didn't realize, running is a very single leg sport, so it's important that we have good strength on both sides of our legs. So like I mentioned, if we're having reoccurring shin pain, we want to start looking further and further up the chain, because other muscle groups are then contributing to the fact that the foot itself is not striking the ground appropriately for your run cycle. So that's just a little bit about shin splints. In another video I will be putting together, you're going to see some other exercises that can really help with doing single leg movement patterns to address some of those muscle imbalances that can help alleviate shin pain. So if you have any specific questions about your shin splints, drop some comments below. And again, pay attention for the next series on single leg movement patterns you can do to help alleviate not only shin pain, but it'll also contribute to alleviating knee pain and some hip discomfort as well. Because again, remember guys, it's the whole kinematic chain that gets affected here, so we want to address everything. And then always like some videos on the channel. This channel is meant to be your chance to get more education, more informative about various types of conditions and things that you can do at home that are simple and basic to alleviate pain. All right guys, this is Dr. Heather signing off. If you have any questions or comments, please drop them below. Do remember to subscribe to the channel, and as always, thanks for watching.